Friends of HerbRally, Erica Gallatin and Evan Silliason, are hosting a free webinar called The Aromatic Medicine Path, Uniting Herbalism and Aromatherapy for Holistic Healing. This is coming up on August 24th and August 25th, so you get to choose your date. So in this free 1-hour webinar, you'll learn the big misconception that's holding people back, looking beyond essential oils, using aromatics for emotional and spiritual healing, making your own aromatic medicines, and the 6 bodily systems aromatics address directly. So we've worked with Evan Silliason and Erica Gallatin quite a bit over the years. I definitely trust their skills and their knowledge. So you're definitely not going to want to miss this free 1-hour webinar. Again, you get to choose which session you partake in, and that's either Thursday, August 24th or Friday, August 25th. So if you'd like to learn more about the webinar, you could simply click on the link at the tippy top of the show notes. Again, this one's called The Aromatic Medicine Path, Uniting Herbalism and Aromatherapy for Holistic Healing, brought to you by Evan Silliason and Erica Gallatin. Today's podcast is another edition of the Herbalist Hour. Today I'm joined by Asa Waldstein. Asa is an expert in the realm of regulatory compliance in the herbal industry. It's a very important topic, and Asa drops a lot of knowledge in this episode. We delve into all sorts of topics in this interview, such as at what point should a smaller herbal company start being serious about making claims on their marketing efforts? We talk about stories of smaller herbal companies who get warning letters from the FDA. Asa gives advice on getting started when it comes to marketing claims. We also chat about substantiation dossiers, general business advice, his new software Apex Compliance, the time he spent with MichaelFranti, and a whole lot more. So huge thanks to Asa for joining me on the show, and thanks to y'all for listening. I will talk to you very soon.
Welcome to the Herbalist Hour. This is where community gather, merging the power of people and flowers, the sweet and the bitter to the salty, the sour. Umami, it's time for the Herbalist Hour.
I got my green tea and my linden infusion, so.
Right on. I've got my ginger tea with lots of honey today. I've already had a Naturally Boulder networking hike that I did this morning. Talk about a great way to start the week. As it's a Naturally Boulder event. We hike in the hills outside of Boulder. Of course, we identify some plants. You know, if you're walking on a trail with people like you or me, you're getting an herb walk, like it or not. You just can't help it, right?
It's funny because I've never actually led an official plant walk before, and I don't know. I think I'm nervous to do it, but every time I'm with my family out there, they essentially get a plant walk anyways.
Without a doubt.
Exactly. Well, right on. Well, welcome back to the Herbalist Hour. Today I'm joined by Asa Waldstein. Welcome to the show, Asa.
Thanks so much. Really happy to be here and talk about all things herbs and compliance. Yeah, what a fun time it's going to be.
I love it, and we've worked together on a few projects over the years, so I'm excited to get to know you a little bit more. So why don't we kick things off and let us know how you got into this whole herbalism thing?
I don't know if anyone's ever heard this story. Or if I've ever told it quite like this. So you've got an exclusive here.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I got into herbs through reading a lot of books, Native American First Nations books when I was in high school. And then there was this band called the Grateful Dead, which I think we all heard about. And so I did quite a bit of traveling with them. And I started using echinacea, medicine like that while I was traveling around with the Grateful Dead. And I went to a rainbow gathering and learned a lot about herbs there at the rainbow gathering. And so that was kind of my early upbringing. You know, I had a lot more hair on my head, big beard, that type of thing. But that's kind of was like the core of how I got into herbs. Then I went to Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington. I studied ethnobotany there. And I would just take my guidebooks and go out in nature for hours and hours. So I'd bring my key books, my guidebooks. I'd spend lots of time with the plants by myself, keying a plant, learning about the plant, reading about the medicinal uses, and then trying it out on myself. That's kind of how I got into herbs, just really following my curiosity for the plants, all the way to college.
I interviewed our mutual friend Stephen Yeager, and I want to say his journey started with the Grateful Dead as well. So you're not alone in that.
Friends.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, there's the common thread right there. Well, so you studied ethnobotany at the Evergreen State College. Who were some of your, say, early herbal mentors?
Well, circa 1995 in Santa Cruz, the first herb class that I think I ever took was with Chris Hobbs. Just, right down the road, a $5 class or whatever it was, really, really long time ago. And he just really blew my mind and continues to blow my mind at what an excellent and kind person and speaker and presenter he is. So Chris Hobbs certainly is one of the people I followed over the years. And then I had the great opportunity to study at the Rocky Mountain Center for Botanical Studies, a 3-year clinical herbalism program, Boulder, circa 1998 to 2001. There I got to study with Feather Jones. It was kind of the heyday of herbalism schools. There's only a handful at that time in history. So James Snow came through, Rosita Arvigo, got the great fortune to see Michael Moore a few times, Michael Tierra, lots of greats. So Feather really put on a wonderful program there. And then the second year and the clinical third year portion was with Paul Bergner. So I'd say Paul Bergner is another huge inspiration, mentor, certainly in my herbal path.
Yeah, Paul's been very influential in a lot of our lives. So did Michael Moore come to the school and visit and teach there? Or did you go down to him?
A little bit of both. I got to see him at the school. I remember him rifling down ciggies outside. The whole Michael Moore, amazing and bizarre human being. And then I got to see him at some herbal conference down in Arizona as well.
So yeah, it sounds like you have quite the extensive herbal background, which I kind of knew, but I more know you on the whole regulatory side of things. So how did you transition from being like an herbal student to now specializing in the herbal industry or community, if you will, in the whole GMP and regulatory expertise?
Just by accident. I graduated herb school, certified clinical herbalist 2001, and I needed a job. And so I started working at this herbal tincture company called Homegrown Herbals or White Dove Herbals, Linda White Dove. Really kind of cool. Now I think it's called Enter Health Botanicals, circa 2001. Was there for a little bit. And then 2003, I started working at this dietary supplement company called Empirical Labs in Fort Collins, Colorado. And I'll say this. During my interview at Empirical Labs, the owner there, it was the first time anyone's ever said to me, I really like your resume, because my resume was like natural food making and kimchi and this herbal tincture and shipping and stuff. The first time someone's ever said, hey, I really like this resume. Well, they really did like it. They hired me and I stayed there for 14 and a half years.
Oh, wow.
Came in as a production person and then production manager person, and then ended up leaving 14 and a half years as general manager. So throughout that time, I really learned the nuances of compliance, good manufacturing practices, regulations, how you interpret them for a small company, medium company, or maybe a large company. I learned them from the inside out. So I was really quite lucky to land where I did with those couple of companies, or else who knows what I'd be doing. And I found out while I was working for these companies that I was pretty good at kind of organizing, helping to run ships, run companies, that type of thing. So my Virgo brain really paid off when it came to helping to run companies. So that's how I got in from the herbal clinician side into manufacturing, and then I learned the regulations from the inside out.
Have you ever been a clinical herbalist as a profession?
I have. Well, profession means that I've made some money from it. Yes, I've made some money, a very small amount. So I did have more of a friends and family practice after I graduated from herb school. And then that kind of fell by the wayside as I got busier with my other, manufacturing regulatory type career.
I follow you on various social media, different sites and whatnot. And I want to say a lot of times I'll see you post things like you really love what you do. You love regulatory. It sounds like you're always at the cutting edge of it and whatnot. And I just love the point where people are told to follow their passion, but you kind of seem to be one of the stories of the passion kind of fell into you when you started doing it for this business that you got a job through. So sometimes you don't even know where the plant path is going to lead you, but it sounds like you really have kind of been enamored with what you do now. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I love it. Well, my favorite college commencement speech is Steve Jobs, Stanford University. Everyone should watch it. I watch it once a year, and I just recently listened to it again over the weekend. And he says, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. So, and just as a side comment, he studied calligraphy at the school when he was in college. And he said, there's no way that calligraphy is going to, ever have anything to do with my career. But then years later, when he was developing the keyboard for the Mac operating system and such, the calligraphy played a large role in the artistic nature of the letters and the serif and stuff. So anyway, it was kind of a fun example. Can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So following my passion for herbs, natural medicine, really kind of led me to regulations, manufacturing. And the reason why I love it and why I continue to love it is if we have to get health-giving products into the hands of people, right? That's how herbs and natural products can really make a big impact on a large group of people. But if we do that in a way that's going to get us in trouble or going to get people sick, maybe if they're not following proper manufacturing regulations, this is no good. This is bad for the herbal industry and dietary supplements in general. So following my passion for regulations and saying, oh, you know what? We know what we can't do, but we're a small business. How do we tell the story about our natural products in a way that's compelling, that's going to entice people to buy or get benefit from our health-giving products without coming back and getting us in trouble? So it's kind of a never-ending journey with interpreting regulatory compliance.
Yeah, I'm sure you see the same issues over and over again. So you're doing a great job educating folks out there. So why don't we kind of start with a basic question that you probably get all the time. At what point should a smaller herbal company start being serious about making claims and their marketing efforts?
Well, that's a good question. If you're marketing products online, you're on the radar of the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. So if you're selling products online, even if it's on socials, on Etsy, that type of thing, you're on FDA's radar. There's no such thing as being too small to be on the radar. With technology nowadays, it's easy for the authorities to find you. So if a smaller herbal company is selling products online, that's when it's time to be really conscientious about their labeling and marketing compliance. And I don't want to scare anybody, but I also want to tell one other little side story, if that's okay. Please. So I read every warning letter related to herbs and supplements. Warning letter Wednesday, I think we're going to talk more about that later, is a weekly post that I write. So one warning letter I was researching had a claim that was cited in this warning letter in a YouTube video. So by the time I got to that YouTube video, it actually had 50 views on it, which means that FDA had probably looked at it 10 or 20 times. So I'm like, 50 views, that's not much at all, but that was enough to attract attention of the FDA and add to the warning letter. So that really shows that even a small little dimple of an impact in social media or whatever can lead to scrutiny, in particular if you're using hashtags.
Yeah, because it's all searchable via hashtags and whatnot. And yeah, it's probably never been easier for the FDA to find people making, outlandish claims and whatnot. Did you have any other specific stories about smaller herbal companies where maybe they got dinged by the FDA and whatnot?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's too many.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a lot, but there was recent one, a company called Elderberry Fairy, and you can look that up on my website, Warning Letter Wednesday. I do a deep discussion about this, but essentially this was kind of like, and I'm super paraphrasing here, so excuse me, kind of a groovy farmers market type cottage industry company that was making elderberry products. And in fact, the people that ran this company, I looked them up. They looked like the kind of folks that you, Mason, and me, we'd love to hang, and Stephen Yeager, we'd all love to hang out with. They look super cool. Yeah. But they inadvertently crossed the line by putting up a website or something on their socials and talking about echinacea is good for colds and flus, and citing some studies. I think in that instance, or maybe another one that I can't remember the name of, a company actually took a picture of their elderberry is good for colds, flus, viruses, a picture from a farmer's market, we see those, and then posted that picture on the socials, and that was cited. So small company just didn't know the nuances about compliance and marketing, and inadvertently crossed that line into making disease claims. Another company was selling products on Etsy. This was a few years ago, but it shows that even claims made on Etsy in your storefront can lead to scrutiny. And last but not least, there's a well-known herbalist that has made a lot of, has promoted a COVID protocol. So COVID, herbs for COVID, of course, we all know that it helps, but it's okay to educate about this, but that crosses the line into compliant marketing when, for example, several herbalists took this COVID protocol and made a small batch, 20 bottles, 50 bottles, well-intentioned herbalists that wanted to help people. But with doing that, by making a COVID protocol product, they've inadvertently crossed the line into a very serious COVID claim. So, fight the urge to use disease words, I guess, is my kind of key takeaway here.
Sure. What are some of the punishments that you might receive if you do get notified from the FDA?
So most often it's a warning letter. So warning letters are public record. They don't go away. They rank really high on Google. So your name will be memorialized forever in warning letter history.
Wow.
And a couple more reasons to avoid warning letters are: it takes legal resources to respond to. You should hire a lawyer. It can scare away investors if you're a little bit bigger and you want to go out for investment or sell your company. It can lead to plaintiff attorney lawsuits. So class action attorneys look at all the warning letters. And it can get you dropped from your insurance or your credit card processor, maybe a distributor if you're in a regional distributor or Whole Foods or something like that. So usually warning letters are primarily how companies are getting in trouble. There is the possibility of fines, injunctions, seizure, that type of thing. Those things are relatively rare.
Hence Warning Letter Wednesday. And yeah, we'll talk more about that later. But in the meantime, dear listener, I do want to encourage you, go sign up for that. I'm on the list. Every Wednesday, we get a new Warning Letter Wednesday. And if you're even considering running an herbal products business of any sort, selling tinctures and whatnot, this is invaluable information. It just kind of keeps it top of mind. So every Wednesday, you can kind of see what's going on in Asa's world. And he's sharing stories of what's going on in the regulatory compliance and herbal marketing and whatnot. So highly recommend that. You could go to asawaldstein.com, sign up there, I'd imagine.
Yep. Right awesome. At asawaldstein.com and just click on the Warning Letter Wednesday tab. It's also a LinkedIn post as well. So yeah, you can sign up at Warning Letter Wednesday at asawaldstein.com/Warning Letter Wednesday. And Mason, it's a true, thank you for those kind words, by the way. It's a true labor of regulatory love. My wife knows that Tuesday nights, I'm going to be staying up really late. I'm going to drink tea. I'm going to hang out with my cat and stay up until whatever it takes to write Warning Letter Wednesday. So Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. it can be posted. So yeah, it's really fun. And I review warning letter trends as a way to not only let people know what's happening with warning letter enforcement, but also as a way to help inform your compliant marketing.
Do you ever skip a week?
I've never skipped a week.
Wow.
Even when I had COVID.
Wow.
I just was at this kind of like executive retreat thing in Southern California about a week ago. I wrote it there. I was like, hey, everybody, I got to stop. I can't hang out at the party anymore. I got to go back to my hotel and write it. I wrote it when I've got my fun Ugandan shirt on today to commemorate last year's trip to Uganda and Tanzania. Even when we were in the Serengeti or hiking with the mountain gorillas, I still wrote Warning Letter Wednesday.
Props.
Which means that I am extremely dedicated and also somewhat insane if I'm doing it on all these wonderful trips. And I know we're going to talk about this later, but I also wrote it when I was in Bali at my MichaelFranti's resort as well.
Wow. You're dedicated. I love it.
Yes.
Well, we need it. So speaking of Warning Letter Wednesday, are there other resources that you could think of that the listener might be able to look into? And feel free to mention any of your own resources, how we could learn more about regulatory compliance.
Sure. There's a lot of great free resources online. For example, I have a YouTube channel called Asa's Regulatory Education Series, and you can find that through my website, asawaldstein.com. And on there, I've got a lot of videos. I've got webinars that I've done with Stephen, for example, about GMPs, tips for knowing if you're making a claim, things like that. That's a good free resource. Also, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but
You're the guy.
The appearances tab of my website, this is all free. I don't make any money off this at all. In the appearances tab of my website, it has all the webinars, public speaking things that I've done. And a lot of those have links to the free recordings. Those are good as well. But I would say the best resource is this HerbRally video that we did.
Oh yeah, right.
And so I'd love for you to tell the listeners about how they can get a hold of that. But really quick, it was an hour and 20-minute discussion that we did about compliance marketing for beginners, intermediates, people that are in the herbal community, so keep you out of trouble. So Mason, how can people find out about the video we did?
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Okay. So this is for the HerbRally Schoolhouse members. Basically, if you're an HerbRally Schoolhouse member, you're paying $10 a month. You're helping support our work here at HerbRally. And inside of the membership area, there's a bunch of classes, including one with Asa. And yeah, what you just described, what your class is all about. So it's a great resource. So those Asa's class, along with lots of others, if you did want to check that out, you could even just watch it for free. You could join, get your first month for free using coupon code YouTube30. If you're listening on the podcast, you could even use coupon code podcast, but that'll get you your first 30 days for free. You could check it out. And then if you're getting value out of it and you want to continue being a member, it really is one of the best ways you can help support our work here at HerbRally, the podcast, the Herbalist Hour, and all that. So thanks for letting me do a little promotion there.
Yeah, I love what you're doing at HerbRally. And what I want to know is, when is more swag coming out? More clothes, really cool clothes. And I think coffee cups and stuff on your website. I really like it.
Thanks. Yeah, well, we'll send you a hoodie, Asa, no problem, or a shirt or whatever you want. But actually, your swag today is so good. I don't think you need one of our shirts, but still, actually, Amanda is working on a couple new T-shirt designs because we're going to be doing the Great Lakes Herb Fair in a month. So we want to have just a kind of random new shirts. So yeah.
I love
it's a very undersold or underappreciated or unknown part of our website. So thanks for shouting out the shop.
Yes.
Cool. Well, why don't we go? Yeah. So speaking of the class you taught for the HerbRally Schoolhouse, why don't you give maybe any sort of quick tips or tricks for the audience when it comes to marketing claims?
Okay. So we're all herbalists. We love plants. Before we go out, I'm going to throw a kind of a silly analogy out there. Before we go out and wildcraft any plants, what do we need to know? We need to know the plants that are going to get us sick. So I'm here in Colorado. Before I go out and hang out with OSHA, I sure better know what the hemlock looks like, for example. So it's the same thing with marketing. Before marketing products, we need to know what can get us in trouble. Hope you enjoyed that silly analogy. So kind of a good starting tip is understanding if you're making a claim. So here I want to just lay out a couple general tips for herbalists out there, the herbal community, to know if you're making a claim, because knowing a claim could be difficult. It can be confusing. So words ending in itis, I-T-I-S, that means inflammation of, such as arthritis. We want to stay away from them. Other than words with anti in the title, words with anti in the title, other than antioxidant and perhaps anti-aging, we should avoid, like antiviral, anti-inflammatory, that type of thing. And we want to always think about the difference between education and marketing. I know we touched on this earlier. So our educational material, clinical study material, our materia medica material doesn't necessarily always translate to compliant marketing. So if we had a clinical study and we wanted to use that to promote our product, we should be very careful to make sure we're not using disease words. We also want to make sure that if we're copying, for example, TCM language like lung dampness, things like that, we're careful not to, again, cross that line into uncompliant marketing. And we know we touched on hashtags a little earlier. Hashtags are also considered marketing. So if we had a social post and it's about maybe a turmeric product or something like that we had, and we put hashtag arthritis, we'd take an otherwise compliant post and make it non-compliant just with the use of a hashtag. You can tell I love this stuff. I can talk all day, but I think I'll stop there for now.
Yeah, and as you were talking, something came to mind. I want to say, tell me if I'm wrong or not, but is using the word support your friend, like supports natural digestive function, that kind of verbiage, or?
Hey, I think supports natural digestive function is pretty good, but I like, but supports is really a good word, right? So
Yeah.
what's the opposite of supports? Enhances, promotes, that type of thing. I consider enhances, promotes, words like that as action-oriented words, whereas support, you're kind of keeping the body healthy rather than increasing your immunity or increasing this. I like to stick with supports, especially when it's related to statements about cognitive function, memory, and immunity. Otherwise, promotes digestion, pretty low risk, but promotes immunity, much higher risk.
Sure. Yeah, it almost seems too obvious why that would be the case too. Why don't you tell us what the ASA rule is?
Let's see. Oh, the ASA rule. That's right. We've got a couple ASA rules. Now, the ASA rule is if you wouldn't put it on your label, you should be careful letting it slip by in secondary marketing. So let's say you've got the word anxiety. We wouldn't put that on a product label, but what about if that same word slipped by in a blog or a showcase testimonial or a social post? So again, if we wouldn't put it on the label, we should definitely think several times about letting it slip by in any secondary marketing.
Gotcha. And you were talking about the use of the word anti earlier, and maybe I misheard you, but did you say it's okay to say anti-aging, or did I mishear that?
Antioxidant, the FDA has a definition of antioxidant, vitamins A, C, and E. Yeah. Now, when I look at, I've really looked hard to try to find other antis that are probably not going to attract a warning letter. And I haven't found anti-aging in warning letters. That doesn't mean it's without risk, right, but it's a lot lower of a risk than saying anti-inflammatory. I don't think it's on the keyword list the FDA is looking about anti-aging. Of course, you should be careful with it. I think a more compliant way to say anti-aging is graceful aging support, or something like that. It's a little more nuanced, but yeah, I think anti-aging's not on my high risk word list at all. Wow.
Yeah, I would have not guessed that, but okay. Well, thanks for the clarification. I was kind of overly excited for this question for whatever reason, but are puns or wordplay compliant? Like, say, I don't actually even have a good example for you, but I'm pretty sure you know what I'm referring to.
I think Wish Garden Herbs does a really good job at their puns, like they have a Party Smart formula. It's made perhaps for alcohol metabolism. I don't want to speak for them. They've of course got Kick-Ass Immune. They're really playful. Puns are considered marketing, but they're less likely to be scrutinized than if you just come out and say hangover relief or something like that.
Yeah.
So you want to be careful. Here's an example. It's a little bit embarrassing, but years ago I was making a product for male sexual health. Don't blame me. It was a product that we were already making, but the product's name was called Viagrate. And so it sounds like Viagra. Yeah. And like the FDA came in one day and they're like, you guys, seriously, it's a male sexual support product and it's called Viagrate. Like, you're really flying a little close to the sun with that. Yeah. That'd be an example of a pun that was definitely pushing it. Maybe a lower risk example with, here's one. There's a tea called Smooth Move, traditional, or I can't remember the name of the tea company. It's for constipation, but they don't say constipation. It's called Smooth Move. So the fact that they're using that as a product name, I think is a great example of how puns can be used. Again, nothing's without risk. If the product's name was Smooth Move and then there was research related to chronic constipation, that'd be serious. So it can raise a flag for the authorities to look deeper, but as long as all the secondary marketing is relatively clean and the claim isn't over the top like that Viagrate example, it's pretty low risk.
I don't know if this is in your area of expertise or not, but I suspect it is. Say an herb shop owner is selling a Smooth Move tea blend. And yeah, sure, the wordplay there gets lost to the FDA, like say on the internet. Are there ever, say, like undercover FDA agents that go in and hope to extract, like, say, medicinal claims where the herb shop owner is actually like telling, essentially prescribing drugs to their clientele? Like, does that ever happen? Like, yeah. So does the FDA ever go undercover and try to bust people in that way, or say like trade shows and whatnot?
Not that I've heard of in clinics or herb shops or anything, unless those interactions were broadcast online, such as socials or
Sure.
a live open public ask me anything or something like that. At trade shows, the FDA does go around booths. I've only heard them enforcing literature, so something concrete, probably not based on what they heard. I'm not an attorney. I don't know if that would be admissible or not if they just heard something on the trade show floor. But that being said, we always want to keep in mind that anything we're saying, should be compliant. If you're one-on-one with a client in your four walls of your herbal practice or your herb shop or whatever it may be, as long as you're doing no harm, I think the FDA would practice enforcement discretion and probably not ever know about it. Again, if that was publicized, such as, hey, it's a webinar, ask me anything about my clinical practice, or I'm doing something that's public, that's evergreen, that's traceable, to be totally frank, that's more likely to be scrutinized.
I guess it keeps coming back to like this idea of risk tolerance. Like, is the owner of that herbal company, like, because there's so much gray area. I mean, some stuff's just outright obvious what not to do, but I guess it in the end depends on the owner's risk tolerance for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, if I was an herb shop, I wouldn't want to have a lot of disease words on my shelf talkers or on my trade show literature or anything like that. But I would probably be just fine talking to someone in language that I probably wouldn't use publicly. Now, I wouldn't say, and this is unethical in my opinion, but I wouldn't say anything, hey, this is great for preventing cancer, or, yeah, you can get off your SSRIs in 2 weeks with this. I wouldn't ever say anything like that, because that could hurt people and that's no good. But if I wanted to maybe talk about, sleep with a more finer point, or maybe occasional anxiety or something like that, or pain, I'm sure I would do that if I was working in a clinic.
I don't know if other people in your position had the same, like, say, herbal training as you, or herbal origin through, like, say, the Rocky Mountain School and whatnot, but I feel like it really set you up nicely for this profession. Like, I feel like, yeah, you're being conservative in nature right there already, just by the way you were trained by, say, Feather and Paul and all them. So
yeah, without a doubt, I'm really fortunate. And yeah, I never ever thought that my herbal background and education would lead to anything professionally. Never, ever. Because the supplement industry in 2001, 2003 was quite small. I don't know what the percentage, maybe it was 10% or something what it is today.
Wow.
10 plus years ago, it caught on more in the mainstream. Same with herbalism now, which is really, really great. So I never thought that following my passion for herbalism would lead to this. Yeah, it's been a pretty wild journey to get to where I am. And yeah, very unique, very, very thankful to be able to have this kind of upbringing with herbal education and knowledge to bring to dietary supplement regulatory marketing. And guess what? When people hear that I've got a clinical herbalism background, or I was on a Naturally Bolder networking walk this morning when I'm pointing out Grandelia. What? This is so cool. It really does help. To be honest, from a person point of view, it helps you build connection with them, but it also helps build that connection, which can lead to better business opportunities. So, be authentic. But for example, I pointed out Grindelia to someone. They had no idea what it was. We're talking, and guess what? They may hire my company to do some regulatory consulting, because guess what? We're all connected to the plant. So it's a great kind of in. I mean, as long as you're not being, slimy about it, it's a great kind of in to talk about herbs and natural medicine as a way to build rapport, and then that rapport could lead to friendships, like us, business opportunities, and so much more. Not that you asked my advice, but I just
I love it.
Rant.
I'm here for it. That's what the audience is here for too. So thank you. I read this couple words in one of your I want to say LinkedIn posts recently, and I have no idea what it was. So I said I'll ask Asa on the show. Asa, what is a substantiation dossier? Presuming I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah. All right. So according to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, companies should have substantiation for any, and FDA, both of them, FDA and FTC, they should have substantiation for any statements or claims you make. So if you have a product and you're saying supports immune health, or you have a product that says support joint health or helps you sleep through the night, you're supposed to have data to back that up. That data to back that up is usually in the form of a substantiation dossier. Sounds like a really fancy official name, right? Really, it can be pretty simple. All it really is a form or a packet where you have claims, and then you have the clinical studies to back those up. So if there's a clinical study on 500 milligrams of echinacea purpurea root in a tincture for immune support in healthy individuals, and that study is well powered, competent, reliable, all these type of things, then sure, you can use that to substantiate your immune support statement if you're using that same amount of echinacea purpurea in a tincture. So really all it is just a reference or a packet where you have all your research saying, I can prove claim A with this clinical study.
Okay, well, thanks. I guess I participated in a substantiation dossier when I worked at Mountain Rose Herbs, and I just didn't know that that's what it was called. But Mountain Rose Herbs has, I want to say, like an ever expanding one. It continuously grows because the marketing department always wanted to make sure they were compliant and closely working with the regulatory department as well. So all right, well, cool. Yeah, that makes sense that it would be important for an herbal business to have. So Asa, you inspire me not just as, like, say, a regulatory person, but as a business person in general. I think that you do it the right way. And I'm just kind of curious if you could, for the herbal entrepreneur out there, if you could kind of just give like general herbal business advice.
Sure. So we're really living in this golden age of herbalism. When I graduated from herb school and I told people what I was studying herbs and natural medicine, they immediately asked me for cannabis. Hey, can I buy some cannabis from you? They're like, oh, like rolling my eyes type of thing. So, but now, herbalism has kind of gone mainstream. There's herbal apothecaries everywhere. There's herb schools. So people are much more accepting of plant medicine. It's really super heartwarming and amazing. Same thing with supplements, but really we're in this renaissance of herbal education. So my advice is, by following your passion for plant medicine, this can really ignite the same interest in either new clients or customers. I was talking about the Grindelia example today. That's a great one. So by following your passion, of course, you can build your business rapport. Of course, we want to be compliant. So we want to talk about our love for Grindelia without saying bronchitis or whatever it may be. So following our passion, finding ways to authentically connect with people, but also being compliant is important. And one of the things that I love about social media is that we can, if we're authentic, we can have conversations like this, Mason. We can really connect with a lot more people than we can in a localized group. So doing free webinars for people. Hey, we're going to talk about this plant, or for example, these discussions like you have here. This herbalist discussion is fabulous. It's a great way for people to build rapport with you and your guests as well. So when we go to an herb conference, people are like, "Oh my God, you're Mason. I feel like I already know you," because you've already delivered this authentic free content. So I'm still a big fan of building content, keeping it consistent. So some folks may say, I'm going to build this educational platform, or I'm going to write this post. But of course, got to keep doing it. Like Warning Letter Wednesday, like this event that we're talking on today. So finding something you like, building content that you're passionate about, that's helpful for other people, that they're interested in, doing it on a consistent base can also, certainly help your business without a doubt. And one more thing, push your comfort zone. I do a lot of public speaking now, but I didn't always. And so I had to get up and start doing public speaking. I didn't feel like I had anything to give, right? And like, who am I? Everyone has imposter syndrome. So that's another one. Everyone has imposter syndrome. But if you're able to find content that you really are passionate about, that other people are interested in, give a talk, host a meetup. It's essentially free. Host a meetup, apply to speak at herb conferences, that type of thing. That's a really, really great way to grow your business and make a lot of friends as well.
I love everything you said there, and I'll concur on that last point. HerbRally, the YouTube channel and the podcast, has greatly helped me grow as a human, getting outside of my comfort zone, gaining so much confidence. I never thought in a million years I'd be speaking to a lot of people, on camera, and the audio and all that and everything. So it's helped me develop so many skills. And to your point, helps you make a lot of friends and everything. So it's just good stuff all around. So if you, dear listener, have been putting off, say, starting a podcast or a YouTube channel or something like that, I highly encourage you to do so, even if you're shy, because I'll tell you what, if I could do it, I really truly believe anybody can. So thank you for sharing that, Asa.
Yeah, without a doubt. If Mason and myself can do it, then anyone can do it, certainly.
Oh, yeah. I was actually going to ask you, what was the first public talk that you gave and how many people were in it, if you recall?
Yeah. So I did a couple talks for Empirical Labs years and years ago, 20 people. And I was just like pounding the kava. I probably took it I was like, my mouth is numb. Talking like Bob Dylan. Yeah, I was so nervous. And I paced on the stage because I thought I saw a speaker that I liked once upon a time pacing up and back on the stage, front and back on the stage. And someone after the event was like, Asa, that was just absolutely terrible. You're not supposed to walk back and forth. You're making everyone nervous.
Yeah.
So then I didn't do it for several years. And then I started a group called the Boulder Hemp CBD group. It's a meetup group in 2019. And I did it because I wanted to start public speaking, but no one really knew who I was. So I started my own meetup group where I would just invite other regulatory people. I'd buy some beer, some non-alcoholic things, some snacks, and rent out a space. So it's like a $200 investment. I could have done it much smaller at the park or something. And then I rented microphones and speakers, and then I was center stage. And that's really how I got more comfortable with doing it. I did several of these. They got bigger and bigger and bigger. Then the pandemic happened. We took them online, and then that just took off and skyrocketed. Now I've got a really big newsletter list of people that I did webinars with and for. So yeah, it's been really fun to do that. And you can start really small. It can be a 5-person meetup at your local park or whatever. So it's starting anywhere. I still don't like to do public speaking all the time everywhere at all. Like I rarely even speak up when I'm attending a lecture or something like that, unless I really have something I want to do. So yeah, it's always a constant journey without a doubt.
Amen. Well, I was saying, you inspire me as like an entrepreneur type. And I noticed that I want to say I read it on your newsletter or your LinkedIn, one of the two. You actually created a new software company, or at least it's part of your business. It's called Apex Compliance. I looked at like a, what do you call it, the sizzle reel or whatever, and kind of briefly shows what the software is all about. It looks really professional. Can you tell us what Apex Compliance is and who would be like a good fit to be using the software?
Yeah. Because I just couldn't stop thinking about this, back up. I went looking for my consulting practice, something that I could easily type in a list of buzzwords or keywords into a website, a YouTube video, or even content before I was publishing it or reviewing it as a way to streamline regulatory compliance. I couldn't find any program where I could just say, asawaldstein.com, search for all these keywords and give me a report. So I built one. I built it through some dudes that I met online in Pakistan. They built me a really good alpha and beta product. It was wonderful, totally functional, wasn't very expensive. But then everyone started to ask me for it. Law firms, brands, large marketing agencies, consultants like me started asking me for it. So I built this program. It's called Apex Compliance, and the website is apexcomplianceprogram.com. And what it does is it finds keywords on websites, videos, and then content before publishing. So it comes preloaded with the list of 55 top words, common in warning letters, common in lawsuits, antiviral, depression, that type of thing. And then where applicable, it has lower risk alternatives, such as, hey, you said anti-inflammatory. Here's a risk rating. Here are some lower risk ways to talk about that. Soothing, relief, that type of thing. And then you're able to capture notes. It also works to streamline content review for companies that are reviewing lots of blogs, social content, streamlines that review before publishing. So that's Apex Compliance Program. I launched it last month. I'm really excited to say that it's been very, very, very successful so far, which is great because I invested not all my money, but I invested heavily into it and I'm passionate about it. So it's helping to find the things that can get companies in trouble before they get in trouble while teaching about compliance. So a lot of larger brands are using this, consultants, companies that review a lot of regulatory content, companies that also review a lot of websites, for example, attorneys, credit card processors, people like that as well are using it.
Did you say that it can review, say, videos like before you post something on YouTube?
Right now, it just posts YouTube. It just reviews YouTube links, live links.
Oh, gotcha.
So they could be private. They could be private links, but what it does is it works based on the AI.
Oh.
The AI YouTube generated closed caption transcript. So it goes, it searches based on that, which is pretty cool. Soon it will be able to pop up a video in there, and then the AI will be able to just go based off the voice recognition. That's a little more complicated. That's one of many things on my product roadmap for Apex Compliance as well.
Oh man, I remember we spent months, we called it scrubbing blog posts when I worked at Mountain Rose Herbs, of non-compliant language and whatnot. And I could just imagine that would be a great tool. Would you say that would be the type of tool someone would want in order to make sure that their previous blog posts that they've written were compliant? Yeah,
anything out there on your website, for example, or YouTube videos or active, that's considered active marketing, even if it's an 8-year-old blog or whatever it may be. I've given so many Apex compliance demos and people said, oh my God, that could have saved me so much time when I reviewed all the blogs on my website, or that type of thing. Or, hey, I work with private equity companies as part of their due diligence process. Hey, we wish we had this before we bought company A, because once we bought it, we figured out that they had a lot of uncompliant stuff deep in their blogs and archives and stuff like that. So without a doubt, what used to take hours or days, can literally be conducted in minutes. I'm happy to say.
Love it. So again, for the listener, that's Apex Compliance. Can you say the URL one more time?
Sure. apexcomplianceprogram.com. apexcomplianceprogram.com.
We'll be sure to link to that in the podcast show notes and whatnot. You're also, I want to say you started the supplement advisory group. Do you want to tell us about that?
Sure. So this is a regulatory consulting company I started just around 3 years ago. And it's just myself and one other. We're small, we're nimble. We primarily focus on labeling compliance for dietary supplement and herbal products. So making sure they're labeled correctly, but everything's an extension of the label, as we talked about. So online marketing compliance, reviewing blogs, conducting company trainings, do it for a lot of small companies, very, very large companies as well. We'll come in and assess the compliance risks and then do a customized training. We also do a lot of one-offs for companies out there that just need, hey, I need an hour of guidance from my team. Can we do a Zoom call and it'll be an Ask Me Anything and they can ask me whatever I want. That's something that may be applicable to your listeners as well.
Sure. Right on. Well, you wear a lot of hats. You've started a lot of things. I'm excited to see where you go with the Apex compliance and whatnot. That'll be cool to see the evolution. And I'll be learning about it via LinkedIn. And I'm sure on your Warning Letter Wednesday, you'll keep us posted as well. I believe you said you would agree to do this segment we've been doing called Giving Flowers. Do you want to do that?
Sure. Can you remind me what it is again, please?
100%. Yeah, totally. So for the listener as well, basically, I'm asking the guest to give their flowers, so to speak, metaphorically. That's giving props publicly to someone who has helped them along their herbalist or their life journey. So it could be some sort of mentor or whoever you'd like to just, publicly thank for helping you along your life's journey.
I didn't do any preparation on this, but I've got a couple of flowers to give. So, the first flowers is Paul Bergner. Spending a couple of years with him, day in and day out, in the woods. Really, really kind soul. He really helped continue to develop not only my passion for herbs, passion for clinical herbalism, but also helped me really become certainly a better person, I think. As did Feather Jones, to give her some flowers as well. And then more recently, without a doubt, it's been Stephen Yeager, we've talked about already with Mountain Rose Herbs. I'd like to give him some flowers because he's not just a friend, but then some of our conversations are all about regulatory. Or I chair the American Herbal Products Association, APA's Cannabis Committee. We were on a call this week, and it's a trade group. So you vote for things and you make motions. And we hadn't made a motion in that committee for so long that I forgot the process to do it. And all of a sudden in my chat, I'm outing here, Stephen. Stephen said, "Hey, here's how you do it. You do this, and then you do this, and then you ask if there's any objections, and then you say passes by general consent," or whatever it may be, without asking. So it was very, very kind of him to do that. And then we're also really good friends and love music and hanging out at all the herb conferences. So yeah, I think I'll stop there because there's probably so many more people I could give flowers to. So maybe in another couple of years I can come back on again. Sure. And have some more flowers to give
some more flowers. I love it. Well, thank you. Great choices. Awesome. Well, you were just at the International Herb Symposium. Speaking of Stephen, can you tell us about your experience? Like, it could be as long or as short as you want, but I unfortunately missed the event this year. So I was just kind of curious if you could let the audience know how that event was.
Yeah. Wow. What a great event. I had never been before. It's my first time attending. So, Susan Leopold, huge props. United Plant Savers, huge props. Everyone who put that event on was amazing. So it's at Wheaton College in Massachusetts. And when you walk in, the opening gathering was in the school chapel. But when you walk in, there's people playing djembes outside. They're saging you. People are giving hugs. You go into this giant church. There's a huge altar decorated with all these plants. And you just kind of feel the spirit of the plants. It's like our own herbalist church. So it's like that was not lost on me at all. And so that really set the tone for the week. It was just amazing. So it helped me reconnect again with plants, plant people, knowing that, sometimes as plant people, we can feel really alone. We're on our own islands, but being able to connect with other people that are just as much of plant weirdos as we are really makes you feel good. So yeah, the event was fantastic. Hanging out with all the teachers, but all the students and stuff. I taught 3 classes there. It was just really fabulous. So yeah, just really soul warming to be able to spend some time there.
You did an intensive with Stephen, yeah?
Yeah. And I know you said you couldn't come, so I'm really rubbing it in here, Mason. I apologize, my friend.
Well, you're painting a beautiful picture. I absolutely adore that event, so I'll have to make the next one. I do have the good fortune of attending the Great Lakes Herb Fair next month. That'll be my first herb conference, I want to say, since 2019. So stoked to attend that and get to hang out with all the herbal people. And we're actually going to have a booth there, so it'll be super fun. We actually are probably going to do some podcast herbalist hours at the table and whatnot, so that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah I love it. And Stephen and I, to answer your question, we
Sure.
did a 4-hour GMP and marketing compliance intensive there. It was really well attended. I mean, there was, 35 people or something, and it was an add-on class. So yeah, there was a lot of great questions, a lot of great people, and Stephen and I just rocked it. We had so much fun teaching that class together.
Love it. Well, speaking of events, I know you just spent some time with singer MichaelFranti. And yeah, I was definitely a fan of his in my, like, say, early to mid 20s, and I love his music. I haven't heard much of it recently, but can you tell us about your experience there and what you were doing?
Oh my God, you have to check out his new music. He's got some great songs like Big Love, Lost But Not Alone. It hasn't been published yet, but the new music that he's dropping is just, and he's on this huge national tour, 2.5 month US tour right now. So if you can check him, definitely check him out.
Sweet.
So for my wife had a big birthday in March. And so we were at this Red Rocks MichaelFranti show with my daughter and good friends. And then we see on the screen MichaelFranti's Soul Shine Music and Mindfulness Retreat, mid-March. And my wife turns to me and her friends, and she's like, "That's what I want to do for my big birthday." Sweet. So we went. It was 5 of us, my wife, some friends, best friends and stuff, went to MichaelFranti's retreat in Bali, in Ubud, Bali. It's called Soul Shine. And basically what this is it's a week long with Michael, his wife, Sarah, their little kids there, and Gina Caputo, life coach, yoga teacher. Check out Gina Caputo. She's amazing, really great person. She's actually from the Boulder area here. And so what you do there is you basically just, and I should say that there's only 50 people. So I've seen MichaelFranti at, 8,000 people at a Red Rocks, that type of thing. We're just like in the pool, and Michael comes up and cheers you at the mojito. And that really exemplifies that it's not a retreat center that takes itself too seriously. It's do the work, do the yoga, meditation, mindfulness, talk about things, go have fun. And then in the night, we're going to just dance to MichaelFranti music. So I'll just share one thing, if it's okay, that I really loved about this retreat center. They have these soul circles. And at first I'm like, oh man, I don't want to sit in a sharing circle. Come on. I was just being stupid about it for whatever reason. It's just my own stuff I had to deal with. But the sharing circles, or the soul circles, were groups of around 10 people. You'd either be in a group with Michael, his wife, or Gina Caputo, and you just talk about different things. So it provided a safe space to just say what you needed to say, but there was no like, "Hey, it's okay, Mason," or "Don't worry about it." It's totally silent. So someone talks, and then you just do this, and then it goes on to the next person. There's no pressure to talk. So it's this really clever way to help build compassion for other people. For example, there might have been this person that I thought was really edgy, like, man, that person's really coming off like a jerk or whatever it may be. That was my judgment. But then after hearing their story in the circle, I'm like, oh my God, you have been through so much. And so it really helped build this. You can tell it was an emotional experience for me, getting choked up here. It really helps build this compassion, like everyone has a story. And then you get to dance to MichaelFranti music every night. It was like the best ever. So it was really, really a fun experience. So grateful. And the Balinese people are some of the kindest I've ever seen. So I just love that experience.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. That exercise that you did there, where people get to share without, say, like the judgment or the feedback or whatever, that is something that we could replicate. Yes. I love that idea. I'm going to have to try to figure out how to do that with, say, friends and family and whatnot. So
I love it. Yeah. It's really open, and I know I tried to describe it, but it's even better than what I described, but so simple as well.
And I'm glad you were able to get over, say, being stupid or whatever you said. I notice in those situations too, I'm very hesitant because I don't want to be vulnerable publicly. And then if I do decide to actually move forward with it, I'm always so happy I did, and I learned something about myself. And I'm glad you were able to move forward with it and actually participate.
Yeah, and in many ways, it's kind of like the entrepreneur's journey.
Yeah.
which is feeling uncomfortable in the uncomfortableness, right? You starting HerbRally,
Yes.
that was very that's a lot, right? You left your job, your wife did, and you started this amazing, media group and continue to work really hard to it. But you're kind of everyone's figuring it out as we go along. Same with me and my entrepreneurial journey, and same with all the listeners. I'm sure with opening up your own herbal practice or herbal company or whatever it may be, it's feeling okay with not knowing what's around the corner has helped me. In particular with things like going to the soul circles, same kind of mentality. Going to this networking hike I went to today, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to know anybody. I'm just going to go and go for a hike with people, chat. And of course, there it's talking about the plants really was the grounding effect. So yeah, it's really kind of fun to reflect on personal growth, but also business entrepreneurial growth. They're all connected.
Yeah, never an awkward moment with plant people, because if you're just sitting around not saying anything, you'd always just point at a plant and start talking about the plants.
The best,
middle person. Exactly. Well, let's do a couple more. Let's get to know Asa questions, and then we'll kind of wrap up. What's a random hobby of yours outside of your regulatory work in herbalism?
I love snowboarding a lot, a real lot, and I also love international travel. Those are two of my faves.
Are you?
One more.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, and also fermenting. I'm obsessed with fermenting tempeh and
awesome
sauces and soy sauces and kimchi and all that stuff as well. I love.
Have you ever made miso before?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
definitely. I've made two really good batches of miso. Chickpea miso recently that turned out fantastic, really good. I've also got a 3-year red miso. I think it's a red miso fermenting, and then another one going to be ready in a couple months. So yeah, it's fun. You just do the work and you leave it. It's the best ever.
Yeah, I have not dabbled in miso for whatever reason. That seems intimidating, but yeah, we sure make a lot of sauerkraut around here. So
I love it.
I was going to ask, do you can you do like tricks when you're snowboarding, or are you just hauling ass down the hill?
I can do like, big giant 180s off the rollers and stuff, but I'm more of a tree rider. I love going in the powder in the trees. And my daughter just graduated college in Durango, but before that, every year we go down and do heliboarding, where the helicopters would drop you off in a group and you just kind of ride down these extreme terrains. I like doing stuff like that. Yeah, no, my trick days are behind me.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I just tore my meniscus playing basketball, and fun. Well, let's get deep card. This will be a random question. What is a kitchen appliance you cannot function without?
I would say that a kitchen appliance that I cannot function without is my Vitamix. That's an easy one.
Yeah, versatile. Mine's probably just my cast iron pan. I haven't got around to get a Vitamix yet. One of these days, but right on. Well, let's. I did want to. We've kind of brought this up a few times already, but I want to encourage the listener to go subscribe to Warning Letter Wednesday. But not only that, definitely check out Asa on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, and actually you might be surprised if you're not on LinkedIn, there's a lot of herbalists on there, a lot of herbal discussions overall. But yeah, Asa's always posting great informative stuff on there. So if you don't catch him on Warning Letter Wednesday, definitely try to connect with him on LinkedIn. Anything you want to add to that, Asa?
Nope. I'm really active on LinkedIn. I love it, and it's fun. And that's a great way, to be totally honest, to bring it back to what we were saying earlier about finding your voice or things you have to offer. It's a great way to kind of noodle around and find your voice. If you're talking about things on LinkedIn and people are really interested in them, maybe that's a good sign that'd be a good thing to do public speaking about, or do a weekly post or monthly post about. So yeah, it's a fun way to, again, connect. So much of my business comes from miscellaneous people that I've met on LinkedIn now. And now when I go to events, people are like, "You're the guy from LinkedIn. Morning Letter Wednesday." I'm like, all right, cool, I'll take it. Why not?
Yep. Well, yeah, okay, right on. Couple more questions. What keeps you learning and growing? I usually say in the field of herbalism, but we'll go with regulatory and whatnot.
Sure. So, of course, spending time in nature, spending time with plants, just going out on those short walks by myself, chilling with the plants, that's rejuvenating. But what keeps me learning a lot is dedicating drive time, time at the gym, time riding my bike, and also time in the shower. I'll admit, can't
Yeah,
everyone here to
I do that too.
to listen to podcasts. I'm just like nonstop listening to podcasts. I'm really interested in AI and
Sure.
herbalism, and listening to HerbRally and podcasts like this constantly helps me keep learning and learning and learning. And then that leads, as long as you keep doing that and following my curiosity, I keep learning. So, for example, there might be a podcast and then they talk about a video, and then I watch that video, and then I follow that person. And then that leads to maybe a local meetup group. And then I go to a meetup group and then I meet someone. It's just kind of following my curiosity, but doing it through filling and cooking too, filling a lot of that downtime,
Yeah.
which is this educational podcast is really good for my brain.
I love that. It kind of reminds me of the people who go down the Wikipedia rabbit hole where they keep opening new tabs with the different Wikipedia pages. That's kind of how your brain functions. And I'd say mine does too. And I want to encourage you. So Asa does consume a lot of different podcasts and educational content and whatnot, but Asa is also, producing content in the world. So it's good to consume a lot of this stuff and learn new things. But I think it's also good to put out what you're learning into the world somehow. And that could be, say, starting your own podcast or YouTube channel or whatnot. So just a little bit of encouragement there from me. But while we wrap up, Asa, do you got any, say, parting words of advice or things you want to plug?
Yeah. So first off, I'm really grateful to be here, Mason, and all the listeners. Thank you so much. So I'll end with the kind of a personal anecdote and quote. So, we're all influenced by our world, right? Things that happen with our family, upbringing, friends, that type of thing. So my father was a huge inspiration to me in business, entrepreneur, and as a person. And he passed away early in the pandemic. And so during one of the last blogs that he wrote, he was a writer and blogger. One of the last blogs he wrote before he got really, really sick, when he knew that he was sick, it was almost too late, is really pretty inspirational. So there's this quote in there that I'd like to read for everyone or recite for everyone. And it's kind of the mantra of my life and business. And he wrote it at a time where COVID was in New York City. It was really bad. World was falling apart. But this is his saying. It's be strong, be creative, make the world the place that you want to live in, and do something about it. It is always hard. It is always possible. So I like this quote because I have it on my desktop for I can look at it every day, but it makes me know that, hey, you know what? We're all kind of herbalists. We don't fit into other people's box, but if we're strong, we're creative, we can work really hard and find our best reality, our best professional, personal reality in life. So anyway, I know that's a little deep, but I wanted to share that with all the folks out there today.
I love that, Asa. And, I need to start asking that question more to end these shows because, it's a nice way to tie a bow on the whole thing. And thank you for sharing about your father and sharing his words of wisdom. I just want to ask, did he work for Atari back in the day? I saw you post that the other day. I was like, that's so cool.
My dad worked for Atari. I'd spend summers playing video games for free, in the lobby of Atari when I was a little kid. I got Tetris 6 months before it came out to the market, just a big microchip. And I guess it was an entrepreneur in me, but I charge people 25 cents a game to come over and play it at my house. I'll admit that maybe that's a crummy thing to do. That's how I made my first $100. But anyway, my dad worked at Atari and grew up in the heyday of Silicon Valley back then.
So cool. Well, right on, Asa. Thank you so much for joining us on the Herbalist Hour here. And like you said, maybe we'll do a round 2 in a couple of years. And I'm excited to follow your journey and see where this whole Apex compliance. And one more time, dear listener, please go subscribe to Warning Letter Wednesday on asawaldstein.com. So thanks, Asa, once again. And thanks you all for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you all. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. You too, Asa. Talk soon.
Talk soon.
Thanks so much for watching today's episode of the Herbalist Hour. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want more great herbal content, be sure to subscribe to our HerbRally YouTube channel. If you enjoy these Herbalist Hour episodes and you'd like to join us live, you can do so by becoming an HerbRally Schoolhouse member. Learn more at herbrally.com/schoolhouse. And if you want to get your first 30 days for free, use coupon code YouTube30 at checkout. So our HerbRally Schoolhouse members get access to exclusive video classes, monographs, and a lot more herbal community discounts, along with joining these live Herbalist Hour interviews. So one more time, herbrally.com/schoolhouse. Enter coupon code YouTube30 at checkout to get your first 30 days for free. All right, we'll see you in the next episode, and take care. And that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the HerbRally podcast. If you'd like to hear more from us here at HerbRally, we now have a text message community, believe it or not. Basically, it's just updates from us. We send about 1 to 7 texts per week, notifying you about new events, videos, courses, podcasts. You get the idea. It's pretty much like our email newsletter, just in text form. So if you'd like to receive text messages from HerbRally, just text JOIN, that's JOIN, to the number 541-256-2895. Again, that's JOIN to number 541-256-2895. And to stop receiving texts, that's easy too. Just text STOP to the same number. It'll opt you out immediately. Okay, thanks again for listening. Have a great rest of your day.